Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to CCBC Essex. We have men's soccer action in store for you just moments away. Two rivalry teams, Harford Community College Fighting Owls going up against your CCBC Essex Knights. These are two pretty evenly matched teams coming into the contest. The Harford Community College Fighting Owls come into this evening averaging 3.3 goals a game. The Knights come into this contest averaging 3.4 goals a game. So a very evenly matched squad out there on the pitch this afternoon. Both teams averaging about the same goals given up wise as well. The Knights 1.5, the Fighting Owls 1.4. So something's got to give out there to evenly matched teams. Could it be whoever strikes first is the one who gets the win, or could we be in store for a more competitive contest? That is a high-scoring contest. Who knows? We're going to introduce you to the game starting lineups in just one moment as the two teams are getting their final words of encouragement. We'll be going with the starters just momentarily as the two teams are getting their last words of encouragement for their teams from their head coaches, I should say. Head coach Joe Fiedler for the Knights and head coach Jason Muffaletto for the Fighting Owls. Now the two teams are lining up. Going to toss things down to our PA announcer for the starting lineups. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we'd like to introduce you to today's starters, beginning with our visitors from Harford. At midfield, number 2, Adam Toland. Midfield, number 3, Larson Green. Midfield, number 10, Dougie Mickendoe. Midfield, number 14, Eder Arsangio. Midfield, number 18, William Wangu. Defense, number 20, Frank Asaro. Defense, number 22, Grant Stefan. Forward, number 25, Antonio Savi. Defense, number 28, Kane Camden. Defense, number 29, Jason Stump. And starting in goal for the Fighting Owls, number 33, Michael Nelson. The Fighting Owls are led by head coach Jason Muffaletto, who is assisted by Penelope Fantis, Aaron Lynn, Mike Pistorio, and Bill Wardle. And now the starting lineups for your CCBC Essex Knights. Midfield, number 3, Carlos Guzman Hernandez. Defense, number 4, Walter Avila. Midfield, number 6, Varma Sirian. Forward, number 7, Clement Blamo Jr. Midfield, number 10, Gage Robinson. Defense, number 16, John Asaro. Defense, number 19, Brian Roney. Midfield, number 24, Seth Walter. Defense, number 25, Jake Dengler. Defense, number 27, Trent Hoffmeister. And starting in goal for your Knights, number 33, Kyle Cooper. The Knights are led by head coach Joe Fiedler, who is assisted by Jason Rims, Tim Fiedler, and Tyler Farrell. Ladies and gentlemen, here at CCBC Essex, we embody the spirit of sportsmanship because it is an important component of being a student athlete. We ask that you please refrain from the use of profanity and let all spectators remain positive in cheering for their favorite team. Ladies and gentlemen, the Knights would like to take this opportunity to thank the following sponsors: MedStar Sports Medicine, the official training partner of CCBC Athletics; the Hilton Garden Inn and Hampton Inn of Baltimore White Marsh, Maryland; Madison Bank of Maryland, proud supporter of CCBC Essex Athletics. Visit WBofMD.com to learn more. And finally, the CCBC Associate of Applied Science Digital Media Productions Department, the official broadcast partner of CCBC Athletics. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have met the starting lineups for today's contest, and you have heard the pregame spiel. These should be a very good contest between these two teams. Like I said in the opening comments of the broadcast, these are two very evenly matched two teams. You look at the top goal scorers for the conference. Now, these two programs have 5 of the top 20 goal scorers in the conference. 46 of the top 20 goal scorers, 46 goals have been scored by 5 different players here in this game. Leading goal scorer for the two teams is number 1, Antonio Savi for the Knights. He has 18 goals already here in the early part of this season, so going to have to watch out for him for sure. Number 25, Antonio Savi, number 1 in the conference in goals scored so far with 18, and the only person who's close behind him is Pantone from Prince George's County with 17. No Knights players have scored double digits in goals so far this season. Varma Sirion is 12th in the conference in goals, and he has 7. And Jake Dengler and Clement Blamo Jr. right behind him with 6 goals apiece. First possession of the game is a pretty good one as the goalie ends up having the ball. Anytime you can test the goalkeeper early is always a good start to the game. The keys for this one obviously is going to be defense. So many good goal scorers out there on the field. The defense is going to be key in this one. The Knights defense, I would say, is the strength of their team. I know they do have plenty of good goal scorers, like I just said, but their defense definitely a little bit stronger than their offensive unit. So many good defensive players, not just on the defensive, not just among the defensive backs, but also in the midfield as well. You have that strong as we had a quick trip up there going against the, this is going to be about 4 yards in front of the midfield line, and a very good opportunity at offense here. Key to any game is how the two teams react to having the stoppage in play, how the two teams react to those dead ball situations where either their team or the other team has a free kick or a corner kick or maybe even a throw in. How you can react to those situations is always key in a game, particularly in a game like this where the two teams find themselves so evenly matched. This is going to be a knockout, drag-out contest, I would assume. I was saying before that the Knights' defensive side of the ball is definitely their strong suit on their team, not just in the defensive backs, but also the midfield as well. You have players like Carlos Guzman, Hernandez, so talented at that defensive midfield position. Ryan Roney with the ball on his foot on the outside. Far sideline, Roney seeing himself in the starting lineup for the second time in a row this week. Not always a starter. for the Knights team, but has found himself in the starting lineup more times than not as this season has progressed. No offensive opportunities to speak of in the early part of this game for the Fighting Owls. But that being said, not many offensive opportunities for the Knights as well. Now, they've controlled possession of the ball, but nothing's materialized for them so far. But the longer you keep knocking on opportunity's door, more tempted she is going to be to open it. Here's the play on the far sideline for the Fighting Owls. It's a beautiful night for soccer here. Pitch black sky. The lights are on here at the Coliseum. I'm Aaron Thomas. Thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you for joining us all season long. It's been an exciting season of soccer so far, and it's only going to continue to get more exciting. And there's a trip from behind by the Fighting Owls player. Won't go unseen by the referee as he blows the whistle, and possession is awarded to the Knights. Trent Hoffmeister, middle of the field. Knights walked away with a 2-1 victory on Tuesday against the Cardinals of Caton, CCBC Catonsville. That was a very, very back-and-forth contest. They had an own goal, not themselves. They scored off of an own goal from a Cardinals player, which gave them a 1-0 lead, but then allowed the Cardinals to tie it up late in the stages of the first half. And then we played pretty much a scoreless 45 until the Knights were finally able to score in the late stages of the second half to give them what would end up being the 2-1 victory over the Cardinals. So could it be a clean sweep this week in games? We'll see what the Knights have in store. A very tough contest in front of them, and the Fighting Owls, like I said, the Fighting Owls and the Knights come into today's contest just so evenly matched, both teams averaging around the same goals for and against on the season. Let's see who will give first. Could this be a defensive struggle, an offensive struggle, or maybe a battle of wits between the coaches? Let's see. The Knights trying to get the offensive momentum rolling down their side of the hill, but they're being stopped before they get into goal-scoring range. But here's Clement Blamo Jr. Almost tripped up. Shot. Goal! Nice play by the little man, Clement Blamo Jr. Now 7 goals on the season coming into today's contest. Let's see. Let's make sure that's correct. Yep, 7 goals coming into today. Now 8. He has the first goal of the afternoon there. 6 minutes into the contest. Clement Blamo Jr. buries it into the back of the net. He got the assist from Carlos Guzman Hernandez and buried it into the back of the net. And now, after knocking on opportunity's door for the first 5 minutes, in the 6th minute, they finally knock it down and get us to where we are at right now, 1-0 in favor of the Knights. That Knights goal was scored by number 7, Clement Blamo Jr., assisted by number 3, Carlos Guzman Hernandez. So Carlos Guzman Hernandez getting in on the point action as well. Let's see what his totals were coming into today's contest. He's not someone who has a lot of goals, but he did have 4 assists coming into this afternoon and now has 5 after the assist here this afternoon in the early part of this first half. It'll be interesting to see how the Fighting Owls answer back here. The Knights, not a team that's really known for giving up leads. Now, in their first game of the season, they did give up a 3-0 lead at one point, but that was all the way in the early part of the season. Now we're getting into the middle part of the year and into the later stages, and we're starting to get into crunch time of this year, and the Knights haven't given up a lead since. A team that is well-equipped, of playing with the lead. Let's see how the Fighting Owls play from behind here. Offensive opportunities have been, let's say, non-existent for them in the early part of this first half. Large part of that has to do with their inability to clear the ball out of their defensive zone, but that's not all their fault. The Knights put so much pressure at the midfield line, it's kind of hard to get. And there's a very dangerous play. His Dangler was tripped up from behind, and then the Fighting Owls player came in with a slide tackle and almost kicked Dangler in the face. He's a tough one, though, so he's going to be taking this free kick about 20 yards outside of the box. This is goal-scoring range for him. Or maybe he's thinking about putting it into the middle, have one of his teammates put a head on it. We'll see what happens here. Two-man wall in front of the ball. Dangler is wide and high there. So nowhere near a goal there. Missed opportunity, but one they can certainly afford to miss now that they find themselves down. Now that they find themselves up, 1-0. Dangler been one of the many freshmen to come in for this Knights team and not seem like a freshman. Played like a seasoned veteran for the Knights, but players like that on every team at this level, you turn over so much of your team every year, you're going to have a large crop of incoming freshmen every season. So you're guaranteed to have almost at least one or two of them step up and play big minutes. Dangler been one of those players for the Knights. Let's see if the Fighting Owls have one of those players as well. Their leading goal scorer, Antonio Savi, who is also the leading goal scorer in the conference. As we said before, he is a sophomore. He's not alone. A couple of the other sophomores in the starting lineup for the Fighting Owls. Number 22, Grant Stefan, as well as number 20, Frank Casaro. Also in the starting lineup is number 29, Jason Stump, who is the final sophomore rounding out the starting lineups for the Fighting Owls. There's the free kick. A good one as it's controlled by the Fighting Owls, and here they are trying to work it up the far sideline, but stolen away from by the Knights by Asaro. Asaro couldn't control it on the far sideline. He ends up turning it right back over to the Fighting Owls. There's a good play. I believe that's Brian Roney. He's the one controlling that ball, going on that long run. He first controlled it in the defensive zone. Now he's in his offensive zone. He got past one defender, but just couldn't get past the last one. But a very good run regardless. And there's going to be a trip. No card, though, and a nice display of sportsmanship from Trent Hoffmeister. He knew that was accidental, and he knew that the Fighting Owls player took a nasty spill there. Got right back up, so seems to be doing just fine. Regardless, an opportunity here for the Fighting Owls. A good free kick a moment ago got them into a goal-scoring chance, I should say, I guess, maybe. Best offensive chance they've had. Goalkeeper for the Knights, number 33, Kyle Cooper, has not been tested here this afternoon so far. Cooper, a 6'2" freshman out of Calvert Hall High School, my old stomping ground. Cooper, not always the normal goalie for the Knights. And here's a great opportunity for the Fighting Owls. Don't have numbers, but they do have space. And there was Seth Walter, last line of defense there. Shut the door before the Fighting Owls ever had a chance of opening it, but they still have possession here, but not for long. The long through pass did not find its way through as Dangler intercepted it. But that was the best offensive momentum we've seen the Fighting Owls get. Let's see if it's one that can be built upon. Here's an opportunity here for the Knights. I believe this is going to be their first corner of the game. Who's going to take it? Brian Roney and Carlos Guzman Hernandez have been sharing the corner kick duties, and it looks like Roney is going to be the one to take it. Corner kick for the Knights. Taking the kick is number 19, Brian Roney. Roney with the ball up in the air. Dangler was there, and Dangler, I think that's about the 4th or 5th time this season Dangler's gotten called for the push from behind in the box on the cross or corner kick. It's kind of hard to get away with that when you stand 6'4", 6'5". It's kind of hard to hide anything from the referee when you're that tall. Let's see, the Fighting Owls, the last 2 offensive possessions for them have been good ones. Haven't ended in goals or shots on goal, but when you look at the first couple possessions they had before then, and you look at the last 2, you'd have to say those are pretty good ones, as they weren't getting anything done before those. And they didn't get anything done there, but the clear attempt by the Knights isn't a good one, as the only player able to get to it is a Fighting Owls player, but thanks to good defense by Clint Blamo Jr., he's able to steal it away. He puts a pass, which I'm sure was supposed to go to Carlos Guzman Hernandez, but Hernandez was shielded from getting to the ball by the Fighting Owls defender, and a good offensive possession for the Knights is stopped momentarily by the Fighting Owls, and a misplay by Walter Vila puts up the Fighting Owls a chance, and the Owls player tripped up from behind, but the Knights not doing it illegally, the referee saying. And there's a great steal right at the midfield line by Gage Robinson. Here come the Knights. Give and go, possibly between Guzman Hernandez and Blamo Jr. And here we go. The give by Blamo, given right back by Guzman Hernandez, and it's put into the box, actually over the box, out of bounds. Last touch by the Fighting Owls, the Knights. Carlos Guzman Hernandez will take the corner this time. Corner kick for the Knights. Taking the kick is number 3, Carlos Guzman Hernandez. So a better corner that time that almost leads to a goal. A good head ball that was easily saved by Michael Nelson, the goalkeeper for the Harford Community College Fighting Owls, a 5'11" freshman out of Edgewood, Maryland, Patapsco High School. Walter Vila trying to plead his case with the referee, saying that ball was last touched by the Fighting Owls. He's not going to hear it, the referee, that is. And now with under 30 minutes left to play in the first half, the score still remains 1-0, but the Fighting Owls knocking on the door of opportunity here as they possess the ball for a moment in their defensive zone, but great defensive play there from Avila as he stole it away, and the whistle blown by the referee. You hear the oohs and the ahs from the fans in attendance as that whistle was well-deserved. Trip from behind by the Fighting Owls sets Dangler up with a free kick opportunity, not from goal-scoring range, but with the power of Dangler's leg and his accuracy with these free kicks. He could put this into the middle of the box, have one of his teammates put a head on it. Fighting Owls have done a great job defensively fighting off these opportunities for the Knights, and they'll do another great job there as Michael Nelson, lucky or really good, I'm not sure. He jumped up and caught that ball, but he fell on his backside afterwards and almost had the ball roll into the back of the net. Wasn't expecting Dangler to go for a shot from there. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he put a little bit more mustard on that than he was expecting, and he wanted to put that closer into the middle of the box. Regardless, it'll go down as a shot as the save was made by Nelson. Approaching the 25-minute mark of this first half. Been a very good half for both teams. Now, granted, it may not look like that if you're a fan of the Fighting Owls because the score reads 1-0 Knights, but I think this has been a very good half for the Fighting Owls. Defensively, that is. Knights easily could have maybe scored a couple more goals, but the stingy defense for the Fighting Owls only allowing one, and that's why they're still firmly in this game. Just one big offensive move away from tying this game back up. Fighting Owls look to be getting something going offensively in the early stages of this first half. Now approaching the later stages of the first half. Let's see if they can continue the momentum they've started to get rolling down in the last couple minutes. As the Fighting Owls players, fans, and coaches know, the first couple minutes of this first half offensively for them, not so good. Last couple minutes, things looking like they may possibly turn around. Maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel for them offensively. Defensively for them, been stellar. That's why we find them ourselves 1-0 in this game. The Knights with possession after the throw-in. Good defensive play by the Fighting Owls to clear it, but instead of just putting the boots to it, they try and carry it out of their defensive zone. They have it stolen away, and the Knights are able to put a shot on. Good deflection there by the Fighting Owls defense, and that clear attempt almost was a costly one. Seth Walter, he's got cannons for the arms on the throw-ins. That was a very good throw-in. Put that ball in goal-scoring range. Nelson, the goalkeeper for the Fighting Owls, had to come off of his line and put a punch into that ball. Stop the offensive momentum before it ever really got rolling. Offensive momentum rolling down the side of the Fighting Owls right now, but good last line of defense move there by Dangler and the Knights defensive backs. Swatting away the cross attempt. Here's a cross field pass over to Hunter Ouchin, I believe. Ouchin plays it up to Blamo Jr. Blamo Jr. looking for his second goal of the game. He couldn't turn the corner, though, but it does go out of bounds. Last touch by the Fighting Owls, so another corner kick for the Knights. Corner kick for the Knights. Taking the kick is number 3, Carlos Guzman Hernandez. So a good corner, does find a head, and then another one, and another one. Head ball going on right now. It's a hot potato contest. Neither team able to control it right now. Finally, the Fighting Owls do what they have to do and just clear it out of bounds, allow their defensemen and midfielders to regroup here. And a good save there by Michael Nelson. The first initial save. Whistle was blown as a foul was called on the Knights. Nelson, good job by him high-pointing that ball and getting his hands on it. Approaching the 20-minute mark of this first half. And it has been a back-and-forth contest. Now, the scoreboard would have you read that it's been all night since they're up 1-0, but I don't really think that's been the case. Knights kind of struggled here offensively. They've had possession of the ball for a majority of this first half, so you'd think they'd have a couple more goals to their name, but the defense for the Fighting Owls very good here this afternoon. Let's see if their offense can match their defense at some point. Penalty on the Fighting Owls. Here is a free kick from the Knights taken. Dangler has it now. Cross-field pass onto the far sideline. They want to put this into the middle of the box. Shot! Oh, so close! Hunter Ouchin. I thought he was looking to get himself into a position where he could get a better pass off. He fooled me and everyone else out there when he went for the shot. Just missed his opportunity at goal scoring there. A very, very good opportunity at goal for the Knights that they just miss, and that's probably their best opportunity they've had at goal scoring since they scored the goal. Long pass is going to go over everybody's head and going to be easily picked up by the goalkeeper for the Fighting Owls. Fans are out here this afternoon at the Coliseum. We had a lot of fans for the women's game. That was before this, and a lot of fans here for the men's game as well. Always a lovely atmosphere for soccer. Encourage you guys to come out to a game if you haven't. The substitution coming into the game, Varma Sirion, who's been pretty quiet here in the first stages of this game. He's a player we usually say his name a few times during the broadcast. Let's see if he can have his presence felt as he checks back into this one. The long shot by Seth Walter was not a good one. Maybe would have been better off going with the pass instead, as we are now officially at the 20-minute mark, which means we've played 25 minutes. It's been a physical 25 minutes. No cards, but lots of whistles and lots of slide tackles and good hard defense being played out there by both teams. And here is Edwin Navas trying to play it into the middle. Varma Sirion, one-touch shot by Carlos Guzman Hernandez is no good. Guzman Hernandez eyes maybe a little bit too big there. He saw that opportunity and figured he better make the most of it. Couldn't do it. 1-0 will remain the score after that. Kyle Cooper, the goalkeeper for the Knights, has not been tested here this afternoon. But maybe he'll get tested here, as the foul was committed by the Knights right in front of the midfield line, or right behind the midfield line, excuse me. And now the Fighting Owls with a chance. Free kick. Want to get some offensive momentum rolling down their side of the hill. They'd feel a lot better about their first half output if they could go into the halftime period tied up at 1-1 as opposed to being down 1-0. Not a very good free kick there from the Fighting Owls. Sets the Knights up with a good transition opportunity. Varma Sirion, he wants to turn the corner, get a cross off. He gets the cross off, but good deflection from the Fighting Owls defenseman. Knights still with possession of this ball, so the Fighting Owls not out of the danger zone just yet. Now they have possession of the ball past the midfield line. They don't have numbers or space. Great job of recovery defense by the Knights. Somehow the Fighting Owls still pushing through, and no call there from the referee. Clean tackle, he says, by the Knights. I got to say, this broadcaster says otherwise. I thought that was a tough tackle. Fighting Owls player took a hard spill. Man with the stripes in the whistle saw otherwise, though. And luckily for the Fighting Owls and their fans, they're able to recover after the steal by the Knights, and they have possession of the ball once again in their offensive zone, trying to get that equalizing goal. Cleared out of bounds by the Knights. Possession of the ball will remain with the Fighting Owls. Now under 20 minutes left in this first half. Brian Roney checking back into the game after taking a break in the first half. Edwin Navas at first realized he was coming off and then thought he wasn't coming off. And nope, Brian Roney handed him the penny and said, nope, go take a seat on the bench. Thanks for your contributions. Edwin Navas, one of those players for the Knights, always one of the first ones off the bench when Coach Fiedler wants to go to the second unit. Edwin Navas, usually one of the first players he turns to. Stat lines may not say much for him, but he's a player who always seems to be in the right place at the right time for this Knights team. You need players like that. May not get a lot of goals or assists, but they make the necessary plays that allow your team to pick up a win. Fighting Owls making a lot of those plays here this afternoon, even though the scoreboard doesn't reflect it. The defense for them has been fantastic. Right there, you saw it again. Another good defensive play, swatting away the cross before it found its destination. Corner kick for the Knights. Taking the kick is number 3, Carlos Guzman Hernandez. Guzman Hernandez there, not a very good free or corner kick. Doesn't lead to anything for him or his teammates. And here's an opportunity. The Fighting Owls were so close to having a man behind the defense, but the last line for the Knights, Dengler that is, was there and was able to stop it before it really got going. Doesn't get much closer than that if you're a Fighting Owls player, coach, or fan. That ball goes out of bounds. The whistle will go against the Knights. Number 6, Varmus Sirion. He knows it too as he helps the player that he tripped get back up onto his feet. Once again, a nice display of sportsmanship from these two teams, which is always nice, especially when you take into consideration that these are, two rival schools. These games are usually close and physical. This one here this evening has been no different. Trent Hoffmeister didn't time his jump correctly on that one as he couldn't control it after the free kick. Luckily for him, the Fighting Owls player behind him couldn't control it either, and the ball just kind of safely found his foot, and that's why the Knights are in possession of this ball and knocking on opportunity's door once again, trying to extend their 1-goal lead to a 2-goal lead. They've got to feel good about their first half output regardless, but they'd feel a lot better about it if they could go into halftime down 2-0 as opposed to, or excuse me, up 2-0 as opposed to only being up 1-0. And they're still knocking on opportunity's door here as Varmus Sirion with the throw in on the far sideline. He's looking for a cross. He does get it off. Michaels is there. Excuse me, Michael Nelson, that is. The goalkeeper for the Fighting Owls was there once again, making the save. He's been tested here this afternoon, but he's rose to the occasion more times than not. Gage Robinson, one-touch pass, who gives it right back to him. Varmus Sirion and Gage Robinson with the good give-and-go play there. Almost led to a goal-scoring opportunity as Blamo Jr. got the through ball, but he just couldn't get in front of it. It was stolen away from the Knights by the Fighting Owls, and now they're knocking on opportunity's door, but Trent Hoffmeister steals it away. Hoffmeister, nice play there. Bailing out his defenseman, making the steal from the midfield position. Here's Guzman Hernandez. One touch to Osaro. Osaro making the run from the defensive back. And it could come back to cost them as the Knights find themselves out of position for a moment. And the Fighting Owls try and take advantage of that with a long pass. Luckily for the Knights, the pass wasn't very accurate. They were out of position just for a moment, but because of the inaccurate pass, they were able to get back into position, get in front of the ball, and stop the offensive momentum for the Fighting Owls. Just over 10 minutes left to play in the first half. Fighting Owls goalkeeper Nelson with the punt, a good one. Working it on the near sideline. Hot potato, who's going to control this? The Fighting Owls do for a moment, but they don't have numbers or space. And a great tackle by Seth Walter. You know, it's a good tackle when some of the fans on the other team want to whistle. There was all ball from Walter. And a great cross, but an even better defensive move by the Fighting Owls. Last line of defense there. Beautiful cross, but an even better slide tackle from the Fighting Owls defenseman. That easily could have been a 2-0 play there, but instead The incredible defense by the Fighting Owls will keep it at 1-0. Put that play to music, and you may have a sponsor me video. Here comes a breakaway from the Knights. Played in the middle, and another great defensive play from the Fighting Owls. The Knights had a 3-on-3 breakaway and almost had an easy shot at goal, but a great defensive play from the Fighting Owls shuts the door before it ever opened. Corner kick for the Knights. Taking the kick is number 3, Carlos Guzman Hernandez. A good corner kick. Doesn't lead to much, though, other than an opportunity. Here's another opportunity. Gage Robinson, long shot, just wide of the net. So the danger is avoided. Momentarily, that is. Just over 10 minutes left to play in this first half, and the score remains 1-0 in favor of the Knights. But that could change here as Michael Nunez was taking that ball into goal-scoring range after stealing it away from the Fighting Owls, but Fighting Owls defense once again rising up to the occasion and making the stop. Fighting Owls defense looking a lot like the 2001 Ravens at this point. Just dominant. Bend, don't break, and force the turnovers. Let's see if the defense can keep them in the game and maybe even win the game. Not a good clear attempt from that defense as it finds a Knights player, and now Brian Roney. Right foot over to Michael Nunez with the pass, and once again the slide tackle in the box from the Fighting Owls saves what could have been the second goal of the game. It's now 3 times in a row the Fighting Owls defense have had to make a goal-saving tackle in the box. Each one prettier than the last. But that being said, each one more nerve-wracking than the last as well, if you're a Fighting Owls player or fan. Here come the Knights with the flick pass by Nunez, but finds the foot of a Fighting Owls player. Now the Fighting Owls right in front of the midfield line, trying to get something going offensively, and they're not going to get anything going with passes like that. No one in a blue jersey around that ball to get to it and possess it. Knights turn it right back over to the Fighting Owls, though. Long passes not there for Harford Community College here right now. Let's see if that changes in the second half, or let's see if they change their second half game plan. There is a trip from behind, and this is going to be probably our first card of the game. Yep. Referee reaching for the yellow. Pulls it out. Shows it to the Fighting Owls player. Let's see who that is. So hard to see the Fighting Owls numbers on the back of their jerseys because they're blue. Their jerseys are blue as well as the numbers being blue. And it also doesn't help that I don't see colors. Free kick for the Knights going to be taken by Dangler. Yellow card for the Fighting Owls is issued to number 22, Grant Stefan. Yellow card issued to the Fighting Owls, number 22, Grant Stefan. So Stefan, one of the starters for the Fighting Owls, finds himself with a card in the first half, so I'll have to watch the aggressiveness in the second half, as he wants to keep his team in this game, and a second yellow card will seriously hurt his team's chances of staying in this game. Gage Robinson, pass up to Michael Nunez. Nunez doesn't have space, but he's trying to create it, and he does a good job of it as he found a passing lane to get the ball to Walter Avila, but Avila couldn't split the two defenders there. Ends up being a turnover, and here's an opportunity for the Fighting Owls. A head ball to keep it in front, and Cooper finally tested there as he comes off of his line and makes the save. That would have been a very good play from the Fighting Owls if they wouldn't have been able to capitalize on it. A very good and difficult play there. He had two Knights players making a Fighting Owls sandwich there. Fighting Owls player tried to play it in front of him so he could get to it and get a foot on, but played it too far out in front, and Kyle Cooper was able to come off of the line and make the save. But that could be a play for the Fighting Owls that really switches some of the momentum towards their side. That could be one of those moments that they can capitalize on. Corner kick for the Knights. Taking the kick is number 6, Varma Sirian. Sirian with the corner. That's his first corner of the game. Not a very good one. And speaking of good, not good, there was a not good shot by Gage Robinson as he puts that one well over the goal. Now we are approaching the 5-minute mark of the first half. It has been such an exciting first half to start here this evening. Only one goal to be scored, and that was a goal by Clement Blamo Jr. of the Knights. No real offensive opportunities to speak of for the Fighting Owls. Something that needs to change here in the later stages of this first half and entering the second half. Not a lot of people believe in moral victories in sports, but I got to say, if I'm head coach Jason Muffaletto, I would believe that this is somewhat of a moral victory if you can get out of this first half only down 1-0, because if you look at the shot totals for this game and pretty much every stat line, would be led to believe that the Knights would be up by a lot more than 1-0. Here, the Fighting Owls trying to eliminate that lead altogether as they have a offensive opportunity deep in their offensive zone. Long throw finds its way into the front of the box. Long shot splits the uprights, and that would do Justin Tucker proud, but it doesn't count for anything here this afternoon. And those long shots from outside of the box, when you have that bouncing ball or that ball that's in the air, those are such a great opportunity at goal scoring and a great opportunity to get a shot on goal with a lot of power behind it. But also, that is a very difficult shot from an accuracy perspective, as you've got to be almost perfect to be able to keep that ball from soaring on you. And here come the Fighting Owls getting into a scoring position, and that ball goes out of bounds, but it is last touched by the Fighting Owls. Fighting Owls players trying to plead with the referee. They saw it the other way. They want their first corner of the game. The man with the stripes and the whistle is in charge, and I've yet to see a referee overturn a call because of an argument from the other team. And that record will remain perfect. What an incredible evening of soccer it's been so far. The lights are out here at the Coliseum. The fans are in attendance. It was a tough ticket to get here this evening. Had to drive around the parking lot a couple of times just to find a spot to park. Fans are in attendance here this evening. Makes for a great atmosphere, which is, I'm sure, one of the many reasons why you've had such a great game here. And here's an opportunity, but a great defensive play by Walter Avila to deflect the pass before it found its target. And this is now 3 offensive possessions for the Fighting Owls, ending very deep in their offensive zone That is not something we were saying in the early stages of this first half. So now we're entering the later stages of the first half, and their offense showing some life. Showing life here again after the steal at the midfield. Don't have numbers and don't have space, and they don't have the ball either, as Trent Hoffmeister stole that one away. And Hoffmeister doesn't wear the captain's band for the Knights team, but the captain spiritually, I would say, for the Knights. He seems to be the player just always in the right place at the right time for this Knights team. Anytime they need a player to make a play, Hoffmeister may not be the player to make it, but he's the player who initiates the play more times than not. Right there was a very good play from him. And let's see if he's got another good play in store for him and his teammates. 2 minutes left in the first half. Enough time for the Knights to get a 2-0 lead, and also enough time for the Fighting Owls to tie this game up at 1-1. Right there, they almost did. Shot on goal. Good save by Kyle Cooper, though. Cooper getting down to the ground and making that save. Fully anticipate at some point in the second half, if the Knights get out to a 3, maybe even a 4-goal lead, we may see a goalie switch for the Knights. You may see number 55, Josh Dickey, or maybe even number 0, Dylan Guarnio, come into the game. The Knights deep at the goalie position. What a luxury to have at any level. You have multiple goalkeepers that you can go to throughout the season. This Knights program always seems to turn over good goalies. Cooper and Guarnio have played so well in between the pipes here this season. And we had such a great goalie for 2 years here at the CCBC Essex with Trevor Hoffmeister, who has taken his talents elsewhere since leaving us, since his 2 years were up at CCBC Essex. Excellent goalie play continues, though, for the Knights this season. Excellent goalie play has continued for the Fighting Owls, though, we must say, as well, as Michael Nelson has been tested many times here this afternoon, and he has proven that he's up for the challenge. Only allowing in 1 goal, even though he probably could have and should have allowed a couple more. Some good shots on goal from the Knights in the early part of this first half. Now in the late stages of this first half, Michael Nunez trying to add a goal, as well. And that'll be the final play of the first half. And it's a good one, as Nunez almost scored there at the buzzer. We've played 45 minutes. We'll play a second 45 after this. The score, 1-0. 1-0 in favor of the Knights. We'll be back after this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here and ready to play the final 45 minutes of this contest. The first 45, man, was an exciting, physical half of soccer. The scoreboard reads 1-0 in favor of the Knights, and that one goal for the Knights came early in the first half from number 7, Clement Blamo Jr., and the assist on that goal was from number 3, Carlos Guzman Hernandez. That goal was Blamo's 8th goal of the season. He leads the Knights in goal scoring. Let's see here what Fighting Owls have. Free kick right in front of the midfield line. Dangler is able to get ahead on that as he times his jump perfectly. Not much of a jump when you're 6'5", though. Here's Varmasirian, plays up on the sideline. Clement Blamo Jr., he played that ball up to Varmasirian. Varmasirian was wearing the pink cleats on Tuesday, and now Blamo Jr. is wearing the pink cleats here on Thursday. Threw me off there for a minute. Seth Walter thought he was going to go for the long throw. Instead, a short one to Dangler. Dangler's looking for a cross. It's a good one, and he almost found the back of the net, did Seth Walter. Walter coming in there with a lot of vengeance. Was that Walter or was that Trent Hoffmeister? I believe that actually was Hoffmeister making the run from his defensive back position. Almost found himself in a goal scoring. Close doesn't count for anything here this afternoon. Hoffmeister will be thinking about that one later on, though, if he can't get a goal to ease his conscience. And there is a foul right in front of the box. So this is going to be probably the best offensive opportunity of the game for the Fighting Owls, at least so far. This is, I don't know, give or take about 10 yards out in front of the box. Maybe 9 or 11. It's close. This is very close to the box. A 4-man wall set up right now for the Knights. The whistle's blown. Ball's in the air. And it's just wide of the net. So close. Kyle Cooper was there to make the save, though. He would have been in perfect position if that ball would have been on net. Missed opportunity, one that they can't afford to miss very much more of. Need to make good on some of these opportunities, the Fighting Owls do, if they want to keep their comeback hopes alive. Hopes are very much still alive in the early part of this second half, only down 1-0. And here's a very good opportunity. Who's going to get to this ball first? And Kyle Cooper will. Goalkeeper for the Knights. Long through ball. Cooper was there. Seth Walter was there for the Knights and also had a Fighting Owls player there as well. Owls player just couldn't get to it. Not a good clear attempt by the Knights, and the Fighting Owls still knocking on opportunities' door. Good cross over everybody's head, including the goalkeepers. Goes out of bounds. Last touch by the Fighting Owls as they were the ones who had that shot. Score will remain 1-0, but the Fighting Owls seem to have a new sense of confidence in this second half. Seem to have a new sense of urgency as well. Seth Walter is controlling the pass here. Wants to get it up to his teammate, Sirian. Sirian just not fast enough to get in front of that. Guzman Hernandez steals it away, and here's Clement Blamo Jr. Shot is wide of the net. And I think that had a lot to do with the fact that the Fighting Owls player was coming in from behind. Maybe Blamo Jr. heard the footsteps coming. He wasn't accurate with the shot. He can afford to miss that opportunity now that his team finds themselves in the driver's seat, up 1-0 right now. But if the Fighting Owls find a way to tie this thing up, we'll be singing a different song. Here's Sirion near sideline. He wants to put a cross in. I think he thought Blamo Jr. was going to go towards that. Blamo Jr. had a different idea. We've played a little over 5 minutes in the second half, and the score remains 1-0. And a ball played off of a Fighting Owls defender, and Guzman Hernandez will take the corner kick, the 6th corner of the game for the Knights. Corner kick for the Knights. Taking a kick is number 3, Carlos Guzman Hernandez. Guzman Hernandez, a good corner. Dengler was coming in there with some aggression, but he just couldn't time his jump correctly. Missed opportunity on the head ball there. Here come the Fighting Owls. Don't have space and don't have numbers either, but they're trying to make the best of it. And a good slide tackle by John Asaro. Knights turn it over right at the midfield line, though. And now here they come. The Fighting Owls, that is. Shot! Oh, it's on goal, and a good save by Cooper as he has to get down on the ground and make the save. Surprised the Fighting Owls were even able to get a shot off there. Couple white jerseys around that ball. Thought one of them was going to come in and at least attempt a tackle. And not a very good punt there from Cooper, but he's bailed out as a bad attempt at successfully holding that ball on the Fighting Owls leads the Knights into a position where they're knocking on opportunity's door. They just cannot make the most of it. Some fans in attendance want a whistle from the referee. Not going to get one. Now we finally are, but it'll go against the Knights. Knights fans in attendance wanted one to go against the Fighting Owls. Referee saw it the other way around. And the referee also not going to allow the Fighting Owls to get away with the quick kick there. The team goes for the quick kick to try and catch the other team off guard or out of position. That time it didn't work. Let's see, I'm guessing what head coach Jason Muffaletto of the Fighting Owls, what he had to say to his team at halftime. Whatever his halftime speech was, it seems to be a good one. As his team definitely has a new sense of urgency here in the second half. Let's see if that translates into a goal. They're knocking on an opportunity at a goal here, but Cooper comes off the line and makes the save. That ball was going to go out of bounds, but I think Cooper thought it was last touched by the Knights, so he wanted to make sure that it was a save. Here come the Fighting Owls. Through ball is controlled by the Fighting Owls, even though there was 2 white jerseys near there. Somehow able to get that ball and get it into a position where they can get a shot off. And the Fighting Owls, renewed sense of urgency really starting to pay off. They've had opportunities on offense that were not there for them in the first half. And you hear the energy from their bench. I think that says it all. They know they're very much still in this game, and if they want to remain in this game, they cannot allow the Knights to get that second goal. They need to be the team that scores next. 1-goal deficit. So much different than a 2-goal deficit. I understand that is the Captain Obvious statement of the broadcast, but one that had to be made. Good play there by Sirion, just sticking the leg up, deflecting that out of bounds. That's a good hand-eye coordination, or foot-to-eye coordination, I should say. Here are the Fighting Owls. Long through ball on the far sideline. Can they get a cross off? They can't. And an amazing play by Walter Avila, I believe, to save that from going out of bounds. And the Knights having a nightmare of a time trying to clear this ball out of their defensive zone. I believe that's the 4th or 5th time now in a row that they've turned the ball over in their defensive zone. Eventually, that's going to come back to haunt them. 15 yards out in front of the box. Here is a free kick opportunity for the Fighting Owls. We've played over 10 minutes here in the second half, and a much different second half than the first half. First half was all night. Second half so far, kind of been all Fighting Owls. Scoreboard doesn't reflect it, though, as the scoreboard still reads 1-0. Kyle Cooper. Not a very good goal kick from Cooper, as the only one who was able to get ahead on that ball was a Fighting Owls player. And the Knights turned it over in their offense or defensive zone there for a minute, but they're able to steal it right back that time. Let's see if they can hold on to it. Hoffmeister. Long pass, doesn't find anybody but a Fighting Owls player, and they turn it over once again. Fighting Owls, though, with a dangerous play there. As Gage Robinson put his head down, and he almost ate the boot of a Fighting Owls player. Whistle was blown. And that's why the Knights have possession, even though they were in the stages of turning the ball over before the whistle was blown. Here's Blamo Jr. working really hard, and oh, so close! Blamo Jr. almost got his second goal of the game. How he was able to get that shot off, I have no idea. He was working extra hard. Sadly for that man, his overtime check is not going to come in. That check was bounced. Good offensive possession there for the Knights after a couple really good offensive possessions for the Fighting Owls. The Knights knocking on opportunity's door again there. Dangler can't control that clear. And oh, what a good play by him as the through pass was coming from the Fighting Owls, and Dangler was the only one who was able to stop it. And he made the last line of defense play that could have saved this game from being 1-1. Here's Nunez, or excuse me, that's Navas. Shot, goal! And a 2-0 game now for the Knights after the great shot by Edwin Navas right outside of the box. So Edwin Navas joins Clement Blamo Jr. in the goal-scoring category for this Knights team here this afternoon. Let's look at Navas's numbers coming into today's game. Edwin Navas coming into this evening's game against the Fighting Owls, excuse me, just got the hiccups all of a sudden. Navas had 4 goals to go along with his 1 assist. He now has 5 goals on the season after that one. That Knights goal was scored by number 13, Edwin Navas. Edwin Navas with the goal, and it came at a huge moment as we're now approaching the 30-minute mark of the second half, and what a huge moment there as the Fighting Owls almost put a stop to the goal run of the Knights there with their first goal of the game. Just unable to get a foot on it accurately as that ball rolls safely out of bounds. So missed opportunity there for the Fighting Owls, and one they can certainly not afford to miss, as now the score is 2-0 after the Edwin Navas goal early in the second half. So 2-0 goal. The Knights can feel very safe about their lead right now, especially the way their defense has been playing and especially the way the Fighting Owls offense has been playing. Now, granted, the Fighting Owls offense has looked a lot better in the first half, but I think that large part of that had to do with I still felt that they were very much in this game. Their mentality may change a little now that they find themselves down 2-0 as opposed to down 1-0. My professional opinion would be I don't think that will happen, but we've seen crazier things happen. Head coach John Muffaletto of the Fighting Owls had a great halftime speech as his team came out with a brand new sense of urgency in the early stages of the second half. It just didn't translate into a goal. Let's see if his words of wisdom from halftime still reign true with his team. Right there was an amazing slide tackle that saved a goal-scoring opportunity from being realized, excuse me. There's a save by Nelson. That was a picture-perfect slide tackle. Couldn't draw it up any better. Now with under 30 minutes to play in this game, the Fighting Owls in desperate need of their first goal of the game. Varma Sirion is taking a seat on the field, and he's going to come out of this game as John Asaro is going to kick that ball out of bounds, and the trainer is going to come out onto the field. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be back after this short injury timeout. 29 minutes and 31 seconds left in the game, 2-0 in favor of the Knights. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here, and the Fighting Owls give the ball to the Knights as they were the ones that kick it out of bounds, but they only kicked it out of bounds because Varma Sirion was on the ground holding an injured leg. Sirion was able to leave the field under his own powers, but I'd be surprised if we see him again. And Noah Shade, I don't know if he's trying to insert dominance or just prove to the other team that he's a tough guy, but he put himself in a dangerous position as he easily could have got a card there, making what I assumed to be some unnecessary contact with the goalkeeper there. As the referee saw it the other way, saw that he didn't have enough time to put the brakes on, and it was incidental contact. That's a dangerous play there. Anytime you put the goalkeeper on his backside, you run the risk of pushing the referee's hand into giving you a card. Here's Blamo Jr. trying to turn the corner, and once again, a great defensive play by the Fighting Owls, and another corner kick for Guzman Hernandez and the Knights. Corner kick for the Knights. Taking the kick is number 3, Carlos Guzman Hernandez. So another injury out onto the field. This time the injury is sustained by a Fighting Owls player. So we'll take another break and be back after this short injury timeout. 28 minutes, 14 seconds left in the contest. 2-0 in favor of the Knights. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and the injured player for the Fighting Owls is in the process of leaving the field. Is leaving the field under his own power, so that is a good sign. Hopefully we see him back into the contest. Injured player for the Knights, Varma Sirian, has not come back into the game, and I would be surprised if we see him again at some point here, especially since the Knights find themselves up 2-0. Here's the corner, a good one. Dangler was there, but he just couldn't time his jump correctly. Ends up being a missed opportunity, one that won't come back to haunt him right now. And there's another good shot and a better save. Michael Nelson made a fantastic save, full extension, putting the fists to the ball and stopping the offensive momentum before it really got rolling. And Dangler is taking a beating inside the box, and the Fighting Owls doing a great job of not allowing the Knights to get a goal-scoring opportunity here. They're still knocking on the door of opportunity as Seth Walter. Long throw, a couple people are there. The only one that matters is the guy who's able to catch the ball, and that is the goalkeeper, Michael Nelson, for the Fighting Owls. He's able to get the big mitts on it and make the save and get the ball out of the danger zone, if maybe just for a moment or two. Noah Shade up to Blamo Jr. Blamo Jr. playing with the ball, trying to get around a couple defenders. Finally gives it off to Robinson, Gage Robinson, that is. There's Avila over to Guzman Hernandez. Hernandez thought about flicking it back over onto the near sideline. Instead, he gives the pass over onto the far sideline. The through ball attempt by the Knights is no good as the Fighting Owls turn it over after they get the steal. And now it's a game of hot potato after the deflected pass. Neither team controlling it for any kind of extended period of time here. And there is Seth Walter coming off of his defensive line to try and clear that ball. Didn't do a good job of it as the ball was cleared right back into the offensive zone for the Fighting Owls. And now the Fighting Owls of Harford Community College have an offensive opportunity deep in their offensive zone. It is quickly put to an end by the Knights. And now 25 minutes is all that separates these two teams from the end of this game. And the sideline judge is all that separates Clement Blamo Jr. from his second goal of the game. He's got to be a little disappointed with himself that he could not stay on sides and get himself that one-on-one breakaway that everyone craves at the goal. Blamo Jr. trying to extend his lead in goals for the Knights. That time it wasn't meant to be. Fighting Owls still very much alive here in this contest. A goal in the next couple minutes breathes brand new life into this ball game. Asaro on the near sideline, crossfield pass over to Dangler. Now over to Robinson. Robinson up to Avila. Avila to Guzman Hernandez. Now on the far sideline, and that's Navas there. And Navas this time is offsides. Back-to-back possessions, ending in offsides calls from the ref. If you're head coach Joe Fiedler, you like to see your team pushing the issue and pressing the issue, but you don't like to see back-to-back possessions ending with an offsides whistle. Now under 25 minutes left to play in this game, and the Fighting Owls really have their backs to the wall right now. Gage Robinson, foot is on the ball as he passes it up to Navas. Navas plays it back to a teammate who tried to give a through ball to Navas, and Navas would have had to have been the flash to catch up to that one. I always like to look out for the body language of these two teams, and I got to say it's a little bit surprising. The body language for the Fighting Owls still surprisingly really good. I think they still believe they're very much in this game, even though time is certainly not on their side and momentum isn't either. They're still pressing the issue and hoping to get back into this one. And there was an opportunity quickly stopped by the Knights. And the Knights just cleared out of the danger zone in a bad attempt at successfully catching that pass with the leg from the Fighting Owls defenseman. Ends up costing him as that ball got past him and onto the foot of Clement Blamo Jr. But luckily for the Fighting Owls, Blamo Jr. and the Knights couldn't do anything with it. And that is why the game remains at 2-0, as after that misplay by the Fighting Owls, that could have easily led to this game being 3-0. And that would have been the dagger. It's just a little over 22 minutes. That's all that separates these two teams from the end of this game. That's all that separates us from the clock hitting triple zeros. Noah Shade was there to receive the pass, but wasn't in the right position. A little bit behind the ball. Fighting Owls player was able to get a head on it, but he couldn't head it over to one of his teammates, and that's why the Knights still have possession here. Shade, cross, and oh, what a save! Oh my goodness, put that on a highlight tape with some music, and you got me a sponsor me. Woo! That was absolutely picture perfect. I don't even know how he was able to jump up that high and make the save. Michael Wilson only stands at 5'11", but apparently back in high school at Falston, Maryland, or excuse me, Edgewood, Maryland, he played a little bit of basketball too. Or at least had a little Tykes hoop in his room when he was a kid. Guzman Hernandez with the corner. It's a good one. Finds the foot of a teammate, Michael Nunez, I believe. And Nunez had the space, had the time, but didn't have the accuracy. Just over 21 minutes left in the contest, and the score will remain 2-0. Not for lack of trying, though. Two really good opportunities at goal scoring there from the Knights. One saved by Michael Nelson, and the other was just an inaccurate shot by Michael Nunez. Dangler with the ball on his foot. He finds Gage Robinson, who gives it over to Asaro. Asaro did not find himself in the starting lineup on Tuesday, but finds himself back in the starting lineup here on Thursday. Nunez, same position from where he shot that ball a couple minutes ago. And Nunez, what an amazing play by Michael Nunez. You would have thought that gentleman was playing FIFA or something. He just made it look like it was a video game out there, dribbling through the entire defense of the Fighting Owls, and the dagger has finally been put into the hearts of the Harford Community College Fighting Owls. 3-0 seems like a deficit that is a little bit too large to overcome, especially with the offensive struggles they have experienced here this evening. But I guess anything is possible, especially after that amazing goal from Michael Nunez. Wow, what a play. And we have an injury out on the field. That's why play has not resumed. The score is now 3-0, 20 minutes and 50 seconds left in the contest. And the Knights firmly in the driver's seat. right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here and ready to play the final 20 minutes. The injured player for the Fighting Owls has left the field under his own power, so he seems to be okay. Hopefully we see him come back into this contest at some point. Fighting Owls have played a very good game here this afternoon, especially from the defensive side of the ball. I know the scoreboard doesn't reflect that since it reads 3-0 Knights, but that being said, if it wasn't for the stellar play defensively from the Fighting Owls, this game could easily be, 5 or 6-0. Big struggles for the Fighting Owls here this afternoon has not been on the defensive side, as I was just saying. It has been on the offensive side of the ball. They have just been unable to get anything going offensively. Right here, right now, they get something going, and Guzman Hernandez is going to get a card for his actions there. That's a blatant illegal move here from him, and a surprising one. You don't see him have many lapses in judgment like he just had there. Maybe he just didn't want to see the Fighting Owls get their first goal of the game, as they easily could have, as there was a one-on-one breakaway in store for the Fighting Owls if Guzman Hernandez didn't commit that foul. Yellow card issued to him, his first of the game. Yellow card issued to the Knights, number 3, Carlos Guzman Hernandez. Guzman Hernandez, the yellow. He now joins Grant Stefan of the Fighting Owls as the two players in this game who have received yellow cards for the two teams. And now with just over 19 minutes left to play, the Knights knocking on the door of opportunity once again. John Asaro this time will take the throw. He's going to elect to go for the short throw to Gage Robinson, who's going to give it right back to him. Game of hot potato, those two playing it back and forth from one another. Gage Robinson finally tries to put it into the box, and he's unsuccessful, as that ball will be intercepted, and now the Fighting Owls are knocking on opportunity's door, or at least attempting to. Through ball does find a Fighting Owls player, but two white jerseys in front of him is going to lead to a turnover by the Fighting Owls, but a bad clear attempt by the Knights is why the Fighting Owls still have possession of the ball. Turnovers at the midfield has been something we have seen a lot of at this game for both teams. Now, it hasn't come back to hurt the Knights since they are up 3-0. It certainly has come back to hurt the Fighting Owls, though. Their turnovers at the midfield line and in the defensive zone, a big reason why they find themselves down. The team that does the best after the restart, the team that wins the 50-50 balls, and the team that can reduce their amount of turnovers the most is the team that walks away with the victory, or the team who can do those three things the most, or the most of those three things, is the team who walks away with victory more times than not. Right now, the Knights have done all three of those things better than the Fighting Owls. And there is some very physical play on the sideline, and the referee allowing it to keep going, and that could have ended up not looking too pretty, as things were getting a little chippy there. The ball finally squirted away, and now the Fighting Owls in possession here, but for how long, as that ball will safely roll into the waiting hands of Kyle Cooper, the goalkeeper for the Knights. Cooper has done a fantastic job here this afternoon. He hasn't been tested much, but when he's been tested, he's rose to the occasion and proven that he is one of the top goalies in the conference. Michael Nelson, goalkeeper for the Fighting Owls, has done the same. Now, granted, he's let in 3 goals, but he's rose to the occasion here this afternoon. If he wasn't in between the pipes for the Fighting Owls, this game may look a lot closer to 6 or 7-0 as opposed to 3-0. Nelson has made some fantastic saves here this afternoon. Offensive momentum trying to get rolling here for the Fighting Owls. Working the ball around the midfield line. Now onto the far sideline, but no one there other than Walter Avila for the Knights, and he plays it over to Dengler, and now they're going to clear it out, or attempt to. They find Gage Robinson with the clear attempt, and now Roney on the far sideline. Roney with the through ball. Clement Blamo Jr. was there, but he couldn't chase it. Asaro. Now Sirion back into the game after being injured at some point in the second half. Glad to see him back into the game. Such an important part of this Knights team. Ryan Roney takes the pass from Dengler. Roney, couple step overs. Now over to Nunez. Nunez with the through ball. And Blamo Jr. is fast, but he's not fast enough to catch up to that one. And now with 15 minutes left in the game, the Knights are still looking for more goals. Big group substitution coming into the game for the Fighting Owls. And here's Cooper with the ball in his hand. I always love when the goalies do that. They wait till at least one player on the other team comes to try and kick the ball away from them, and then they pick it up. And a missed touch there leads to a one-on-one breakaway for Nunez. Nunez shot, goal, his second goal of the game. Michael Nunez, right place, right time. The bad play from the defense sets up Mr. Nunez for the one-on-one breakaway and his second goal of the contest. Let's look at Nunez's numbers coming into this evening. Number 11, Michael Nunez, 3 goals on the season to go along with his 1 assist. Well, he now has 5 goals on the season, which takes him into 3rd place on the team, behind Clement Blamo Jr., Varma Sirion, and Jake Dengler. Congratulations to Michael Nunez on a very impressive day out there on the pitch. That Knights goal was scored by number 11, Michael Nunez. So Nunez, a 2-goal game. I believe that's his first 2-goal game of the year. Congratulations to him, making his presence felt after not being in the starting lineup here this afternoon. He hasn't been in the starting lineup at all here this season, I don't believe. I know he hasn't been in the starting lineup for any home games. Maybe proving to his head coach, Joe Fiedler, that maybe he deserves to be in the starting lineup. Definitely deserves a little bit more playing time. Nunez sometimes is part of that second unit coming off the bench. Sometimes he's a part of the third unit. Nunez a part of that second unit here this afternoon, and his fingerprints are all over this game because of it. Just over 10 minutes left to play, and this one is no longer in doubt. That is for sure. 4-0. And that was an ugly play there, as the Fighting Owls earned that free kick, as A hard hit was taken and received. And a very fancy move there from the Fighting Owls. The spin move didn't lead to a shot on goal, but style points counted for anything. That would be a solid 10, that's for sure. And there's Trent Hoffmeister. He's getting held up from behind, and there's going to be a card. And we got some chirping back and forth. That is one thing you never like to see out there on the field. That was really ugly. Hoffmeister was held back from behind by his jersey. And he took a hard fall there. Referee issuing the yellow card. So here's the free kick. Trying to get confirmation on who that was who got the yellow card for the Fighting Owls. John Asaro will take the throw in. Here's Asaro. The throw. It is chested down by Alchin, but Alchin couldn't control it. And here come the Fighting Owls. They don't have numbers, but they do have space. Working that ball onto the far sideline. Their numbers and space have now become even. Great closeout defense there by the Knights. Here's Dangler. He's got to do a good job of clearing this one as he had a player on his backside. He does. And here's Henry Ortiz. Ortiz up to Nunez. Nunez looking for his third goal of the game. He puts it over to Alchin. Great through ball and an even better save by Michael Nelson. Man, that is the third or fourth just absolutely tremendous save of the game for Nelson. And imagine where the Fighting Owls would be here this afternoon if he wasn't in between the pipes. He's certainly been the MVP of this game for them. There is the play on the far sideline. Out of bounds, last touched by the Fighting Owls. And the Knights have possession here. Working that ball up on the far sideline, or attempting to. And the Knights still in possession here. And a flick attempt by Alchin was deflected. It was deflected right back to him. That's why the Knights still have possession here. But Alchin was trying to go for that heel flick over to a teammate who was cutting in towards the box. The Knights still dancing around with the ball towards in the box area. That is before the Fighting Owls stole it away, and that's where we find ourselves right now. Fighting Owls with possession of the ball right in front of the midfield line. Now working it onto the near sideline and well over the head of Victor Prado. Gentleman all the way out of Brazil. Long way from home for him. Hope he enjoys Baltimore, though. Here's Asaro. Cameron Schnack is in the game. Schnack is seeing his minutes in this Knights team fluctuate throughout the season. I may be mistaken, but I believe he even found himself in the starting lineup earlier on in the season. Schnack, one of the players who can do a lot of things for this team coming off the bench. Very good offensively, but also very talented defensive midfielder. Here's trying to prove that to you, and it did a good job of closing out the passing lane. And there is going to be a turnover by the Fighting Owls, or will it? No, it won't be. Referee was only letting that go as a continuation. Once he saw the Knights were going to get possession of the ball, he blew that whistle, and that's where we find ourselves here Free kick right at the midfield line from the Fighting Owls. And now here they are on the near sideline trying to put an end to their scoreless streak here this night. It's one thing to lose. It's another thing to lose being shut out. They'd like to put an end to the night's shutout that they've got going on right now. Here's a shot, long shot, and it's wide of the net. Not a very accurate shot. Can hardly blame the Fighting Owls player for taking that shot, though. Opportunities at goal, opportunities for shots have been few and far between for the Fighting Owls, so you get an opportunity like that, you want to take advantage of it. Approaching the 5-minute mark of this game, and the score is 4-0. 4 unanswered goals in the game for the Knights. One of them coming in the first half and the other 3 in the second. 1 goal from number 7, Clement Blamo Jr. That was the first goal of the game, and another goal came from Edwin Navas. And then our last 2 goals came off of the foot of number 11, Michael Nunez. So 3 of the 4 goals for the Knights scored in this game by a player who was not in the starting lineup. That is a big reason why this Knights team is so dangerous and is going to be a team that is going to be very difficult to beat down the stretch. Have so many players who can contribute offensively and defensively. Leading goal scorer, not just for the Fighting Owls, but in the conference, was number 25 for the Fighting Owls, Antonio Savi, and he has been silent here this afternoon. The Knights defense doing a great job of knowing who the superstars are out there and making sure that they're on them like white on rice. Bad head ball by the Fighting Owls. Couldn't be controlled by anyone other than Cameron Schnack of the Knights. Asaro plays it back over to Walter. One thing you never see Coach Joe Fiedler do is you rarely ever see, or rarely if ever see him take his defensive line out. Usually that starting 4 is in there from beginning to end, even in a blowout, even in a close game. Doesn't matter. That defensive line for the Knights is the backbone of this team, which is no surprise. It seems to be the case every year. And now with under 5 minutes to play, that defensive line is getting a break as the Knights are pushing the attack offensively, deep in their offensive zone. Throw in from Asaro. Asaro over to Alchin. Alchin playing around with it, looking for something here, and he gives it off to Weiss, and Weiss with the shot deflects off of the backside of a Fighting Owls player, and I believe that may have been the first real attempt that Adam Weiss has had at a goal-scoring opportunity this year. One that you know he wanted to take advantage of for sure. Couldn't do it that time. Let's see if he gets another opportunity here. Good through ball. Almost found Alchin. Alchin just wasn't fast enough to be able to get in front of it. It's cleared out by the Fighting Owls momentarily, but they give it right back to the Knights as they're pressing the ball on the offensive attack once again. Here's Schnack. Over to Alchin. Alchin's not going to be able to chase this one down, but he is going to be able to shield the defender for making a good pass. So could have a turnover, and that's exactly what we have. Alchin did a great job of forcing that turnover. Schnack with the pass to Wise. Wise just could not get a leg in front of it, and a shot on goal is saved by Michael Nelson. Henry Ortiz that time, the one taking the shot and putting it on net. Another great save by Nelson. Could be his final of the contest, as 2 minutes and 30 seconds is all that separates these two teams from the clock hitting 000s. It's been a lovely afternoon and evening for soccer. Harford Community College women got the win over the CCBC Essex Knights women in Game 1. And now in Game 2, the men's teams went head-to-head, and the Knights are going to be walking away with the victory. So in the doubleheader between these programs, they'll go 1-1. Two teams came in so evenly matched. Knights averaging 3.4 goals a game. The Fighting Owls averaging 3.3 goals a game. Knights right on their season average. The Fighting Owls not so much. And with just under 2 minutes left, this may be the final opportunity that the Fighting Owls get to try and put an end to the shutout that the Knights have been pitching here. Here's a corner kick from the Fighting Owls, their first corner of the game. Here comes the hands in the air. Now the ball will follow it. Ball's in the air. Oh, what an opportunity. Just missed. Fighting Owls player was able to get ahead on that ball. Just couldn't put it on the net. Fighting Owls chase it down, try to put a cross in, and are unsuccessful that time. And Seth Walter puts the boots to it and may have cleared it out of the defensive zone for the final time for the Knights. They'll have possession as the ball goes out of bounds. Last touched off of the head of one of the Fighting Owls players. And now with 35 seconds left, Tangwa Aka for the Knights can just hold on to the ball. Or Kenny, as the injured player is out on the field, and he will get helped up by the referee. Clock will remain once he gets out the field. Since the whistle was blown for the injured player, he does have to come off of the field. And now the whistle will blow and play will remain. So 25 seconds is all that separates us from the end of this contest, and almost an opportunity at goal scoring there for the Knights. But a good job of the Fighting Owls defense putting an end to that offensive momentum before it really got rolling, and that'll be the final defensive stop they make. Is now 5 seconds is all that separates us. And the clock is officially struck midnight. Triple zeros is on the scoreboard. 4-0 is the final score in favor of the Knights. Thank you for joining us this evening, and thank you for joining us all season long. It was an exciting afternoon and evening of soccer. It's been an exciting season of soccer so far, and it's only going to continue to get more exciting. I'm Aaron Thomas. Once again, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.